Welcome to a wisdom tale. Today's story is called Youth Without Aging and Life Without Death. It's a Romanian folklore tale written by Petre Ispirescu, 1862. The story revolves around the quest of a young prince, dissatisfied with the idea of aging and death. Driven by a strong desire, he embarks on a journey to find eternal youth and immortality. His quest takes him to various mystical and magical places, where he encounters different beings and faces numerous challenges. This wisdom tale reinforces the moral lessons of acceptance of mortality, wisdom and maturity, and the natural order of life that should be respected. The hero's journey illustrates the importance of living in harmony with the natural world and its cycles. Let's begin the story. Once upon a time, many ages ago, when the world held different wonders, bears, with their lengthy tails, would engage in epic fights. Wolves and lambs, surprisingly, were best friends. It was such a long time ago that a tiny fly, wearing 99 iron shoes on one leg, leaped into the sky to tell us tales such as this one. This peculiar world has a story waiting to be unfolded. Once upon a time, there was a great emperor and a beautiful empress, both youthful and vibrant. They shared a dream of wanting children to fill the palace, and they did many times what they had to do for this. The emperor sought wisdom, hoping to find insights into the future. Healers and philosophers consulted the stars and predicted whether they would have children, but all in vain. Finally, the emperor dispatched messengers to a nearby village where there lived a wise old man known as the uncle. But the uncle told the messengers that anyone needing something of such importance should come to him personally. So a royal carriage went along the journey. The emperor and the empress took with them a few boyars, soldiers and servants, and went on this important visit to the uncle's shed. The old wise man, as he saw them from afar, we went out and he greeted them. His face etched with wisdom, and his words, though soft, carried great understanding. He said, "Welcome, your highness. But what do you seek to find out, my king? Because the desire you hold will bring you great sorrow." "I did not come to ask you this," said the emperor. "But if you have any cures that will make us of children, give them to me." "I have," replied the uncle, "but you will only have one child. He will be beautiful and lovable, but you will have no part of him." Taking the medicine, the emperor and the empress happily returned to their palace, and very soon, just after a few days, the empress felt pregnant. A wave of happiness spread throughout the kingdom, bringing smiles to every face. The whole court and the whole land, and all the servants rejoiced at this wonderful event. Before the hour of birth came, the child began to cry. No healer could calm him down. Nothing seemed to quell the child's wails, like a persistent melody of unease. Then the emperor began to promise him all the goods and wealth in the world. But even so, it was not possible to calm the unborn child. "Easy, my dear son," says the emperor, "I will give you this and that kingdom." "Easy, my son, because this or the emperor's daughter you'll have as a loving wife, and many other beautiful things." The emperor's concern for his son was evident in his gentle tone. His words were carefully chosen to offer comfort. Finally, if the emperor saw that his son is not at ease, he said, "Be silent, my beloved child, because I will give you youth without old age and life without death." Then suddenly, the child was silent and came to this world. A new life emerged, fragile and precious. The world welcomed its newest soul. The whole kingdom rejoiced for a whole week. As the child grew, he became smarter and bolder. He ceased attending schools and philosophers, and he mastered in a month what other children learned in a year, which greatly pleased the emperor. The whole kingdom anticipated a glorious new leader, and hope permeated the land, echoing the wisdom of ages past that they would have a wise king like the mighty King Solomon. For a while now, however, there was something wrong with the young prince, because he was sad and lost in his own thoughts. And then one day, when the prince was 15 years old and the emperor was at the table with all the loyal boyars and servants of the kingdom, the young prince got up and said, "Father, The time has come for you to give me what you promised at my birth." Such a pronouncement must have caused quite a stir within the royal court. Hearing this, the emperor was very confused and said to him, "Well, my dear son, where can I give you such an unheard of thing? That promise is beyond measure. And if I promise you then, it was only to calm you." The weight of the promise was profound, a bold and perhaps an impossible request to make of an emperor, so unexpected. Just imagine youth without old age and life without death. "If you, father," said the young prince, "cannot give it to me, then I shall wander all over the world until I find the promise for which I was born." Then all the loyal boyars and the emperor fell to their knees. The weight of tradition rested on their shoulders, and therefore they begged the prince not to leave the kingdom. The boyars said, "Your Highness, your father is now old, and soon we will raise you to the royal throne, and we will find you the most beautiful empress in the land to be your loving wife." However, the prince's determination remained unshaken. His goal was as steadfast as a rock. The emperor, seeing this boldness, gave his blessing and prepared everything needed for the long and arduous journey ahead. Then the young prince, known as Fairchild, went to the royal stables, where the most beautiful stallions in the whole kingdom were kept. He went to choose a strong one for himself. But as he reached out and grabbed one by the tail, Fairchild was knocked down, and soon all the horses fell. Finally, just as he was about to go out, he cast his eyes once more around the stable. He then saw, in a corner, a hideous, bubbling, weak horse. He went to it, and when he put his hand on its tail, the horse softly turned its head and said to the young prince, "What do you command, my master?" "I thank God that he helped me so that a brave young man could lay hands on me." And stiffening his back and legs, the horse stood straight as a candle. He stood with a graceful power and a quiet dignity, emanating a sense of poise from his body. Then Fairchild told him about his quest, what he was going to achieve, and the horse said, "My master, in order to achieve this great wish, you must ask your father for the following: the cloak, the spear, the bow, the quiver with arrows, and the clothes he wore when he was a boy of your age. And then, master, you must nourish and take care of me with your own 2 hands. For 6 weeks you will give me barley boiled in milk." Asking the emperor for the things the horse had told him, the father called the chief of the court and ordered him to open all the throne room's closets, so his son could choose what he liked. Fairchild, after wandering the castle for 3 days and 3 nights, finally found them. His father's weapons and boyhood clothes at the bottom of an old chest box. They were very rusty. The young prince himself began to clean them of rust with his own hands, and after 6 weeks, succeeded in making the weapons shine like a mirror. At the same time, he took great care of his horse, as he had promised. "Enough work, my master," said the horse, "but let it be that you succeed." The horse also shook himself once, and all the blisters and dross fell from his body, and he remained exactly as his mother had conceived him, a strong, beautiful, stout horse with wings. The transformation was just remarkable and swift. Seeing him like this, Fairchild said to him, "We are ready. We are leaving in 3 days from today." "I'm already ready today, and at your command, my master," answered the horse. On the morning of the 3rd day, the whole court and the whole kingdom were full of mourning. Fairchild, dressed as a brave man, with his cloak in hand, riding the horse he had chosen, greeted the emperor, the empress, all the boyars, the soldiers, and all the servants of the court, with tears in their eyes, begged him to forget this journey, lest he should meet his own destruction. The young prince, however, spurred his horse and departed through the gate, followed by a royal chariot carrying provisions, gold, and approximately 200 soldiers, as per the emperor's command. He journeyed far and far, and after he crossed his father's kingdom, he reached the desert. With a generous spirit, Fairchild shared his fortune to the soldiers who had accompanied him. He gave away all his wealth and, saying goodbye, sent them back home, keeping for himself only as much food as his horse could carry. The desert stretched before him as a challenging new chapter in their adventure. His path ahead was uncertain, yet he moved forward with determination. And taking the road to the east, he went and went and went for 3 days and 3 nights until he came to a vast land where there were a lot of human bones. This desolate place held a grim secret. Sitting down to rest, the horse said to Fairchild, "You should know, master, that here we are on the land of the demon called Gianoa, who is so malevolent and can cause harm to the living. No one steps on her land without being killed." Gianoa was also a woman like all women, but the curse of her parents, whom she did not listen to, made her into this demon-like spirit. "At this moment she is with her children," said the horse, "but tomorrow, in the forest you'll meet her. She will come to destroy you, my master. It will be a great sight. But don't be afraid. Instead, be ready with your bow to shoot her, and keep your club and spear close at hand, so that you can use them when necessary." Fairchild retired to rest, but a subtle shift in the atmosphere hinted at unseen presences, so sometimes one lurked, sometimes another. The very next day, they were preparing to cross the forest. Fairchild reined the horse, and the strap tightened more than before and set off, when he heard a terrible noise. Then the horse said to him, "Hold on, my master. Be ready. Gianoa is approaching." And when she came, wow! The trees felt she went so fast, and the horse went up like the wind to a little above her. Fairchild, a skillful archer, carefully aimed one arrow at her leg, and the arrow flew through the air like a silent whisper of power, taking off her leg. When he was ready to shoot again with the second arrow, Gianoa said in fear, "Wait, beautiful prince, wait. I'm not doing anything to you." And seeing that the prince does not believe her, she inscribes it with her own blood. She pleaded for mercy. Her voice trembling says, "Long live your horse, beautiful prince," said Gianoa, like the slob that he is, "because if it weren't for him, I would have eaten you roasted. But now you have eaten me. Know that until today, no mortal has ventured to tread my border so far. A few madmen who dared to do so barely made it to the plain where you saw the many bones." And at her home, Gianoa graciously welcomed Fairchild and offered him hospitality as a guest. But while they were at the table enjoying themselves, Gianoa was moaning in pain. Suddenly, she took her leg out, which she had kept in the bag, put it back in place, and it immediately healed. Gianoa, out of joy, held a feast for 3 days and asked Fairchild to choose one of her 3 beautiful daughters as his wife. Each girl possesses a unique grace and beauty, but the prince, on a great quest, plainly told her what he was looking for. Then she said to him, "With the brave horse you have and your mighty determination, I think you will succeed. I have no doubt that great things await you on your journey." After 3 days, they prepared for the journey and started. Fairchild walked and walked, a long and long way. But when he had to cross the borders of Gianoa's land, he stopped and looked in wonder. The contrast of the field was striking to his eyes. Lush green, blooming grass on one side. The other half was stark, the earth scorched and barren. A clear line divided the 2 halves. Then the young prince asked the horse, "Why is the grass scorched?" And the horse answered him, "We find ourselves in the land of Scorpio, sister to Gianoa. Unfortunately, their natures clash, preventing them from coexisting in the same territory. The curse of their parents reached them both, and that's why they became malevolent creatures as you see them now. Their hatred is terrible. They want more and more to take land from each other. When Scorpio is badly troubled, it spits fire and pitch. It can be seen that she quarreled with her sister, and, coming to drive her from her land, scorched the grass where she passed. She is worse than her sister, and she has 3 heads. Let's rest a little, my master," said the horse, "and be ready early tomorrow morning." The next day they were ready, just as they had been when they arrived at Gianoa. Then it came. The ground trembled beneath their feet. They heard a howl and a rush, unlike any sound they had ever known. "Be ready, master. Here comes the rattlesnake of Scorpio." Scorpio, a creature of immense power, with jaws bridging the heavens and the earth and pouring out flames, was approached like a fierce wind. And the horse went up as fast as an arrow to the top and alighted beside her, on her left side. Fairchild, steady and focused, shot an arrow, and one of its heads flew off, a testament to skill and precision. But just as he was going to take another head, Scorpio started crying and begging for mercy, saying she hadn't done anything to him. To prove it, she wrote it in her own blood. And now, Scorpio welcomes and feasts on the prince even more than her sister. In good faith, Fairchild returns the head he had taken with the arrow. It healed as soon as he replaced it. After 3 days of feasting and rest, they continued their journey. They traveled tirelessly, farther and farther, driven by an unknown force. Finally, passing over the borders of Scorpio's land, they arrived at a field of flowers where it was always spring. Each flower was especially proud and with a sweet, intoxicating smell. There was a gentle wind that barely blew. There they stood to rest, and the horse said to the prince, "We've come so far, my master. One more challenge remains. A great danger awaits. But with God's help, we'll overcome it." This used to be the place where youth without old age and life without death resided. There it was, a palace, surrounded by a deep, high forest where all the wildest beasts in the world dwelt. Day and night they watched sleeplessly, and there were so many. There is no way to fight with them, and to pass through the forest is too much. But let us force ourselves, if we could, to fly on top, said the horse. After resting for about 2 days, they prepared again. Then the horse, taking a deep breath, said boldly, "Master, tighten the leash as much as you can, and while riding, hold fast to my mane. Keep your feet glued to the side of my petticoat so as not to stumble on my flight." He climbed up, strong and courageous, and in a minute he was close to the forest. "Master," said the horse, "now is the time when the forest beasts are fed, and they are all gathered in the yard. Let us quickly pass." "Let's pass," replied Fairchild, "and may God have mercy on us." They went up and saw the palace. The palace stood majestically, its brilliance captivating all who gazed upon it. Its radiant glow surpassed even the sun's splendor, making it impossible to look directly at its magnificence. He passed over the forest, and just as he was about to let himself down towards the palace stairs, his foot touched the top of a tree. Suddenly, the whole forest began to shake. The animals screamed, making an incredible noise. They quickly flew down, and if the palace lady wasn't outside, feeding her little ones, that's what she called the forest creatures, she'd surely ruin them. But there was joy at their arrival, for until then, she had never seen a human soul near her. She stops the animals, tames them, and sends them to their places. The mistress was a tall, slender, and beautiful fairy. What a wonder! Upon seeing her, Fairchild froze. However, she, with a compassionate gaze, said to him, "Welcome, dear prince. What are you doing here on my land?" "We seek," he said, "youth without old age and life without death. If you are looking for what you said, it is here. You have found it." Then he dismounted the horse and entered the radiant palace. There he found 2 young women. They were her sisters. The young prince thanked the fairy lady for saving him, and they celebrated with a feast dinner. Everything was on gold dishes like you've never seen before. He let the horse roam free, and then they told all the beasts so that they could all safely walk in the woods. Those 3 women pleaded with the young prince to move in, saying they couldn't stand being alone. He immediately and gratefully accepted the offer, having eagerly anticipated it. They slowly got used to each other. He told them his story, everything that happened till he got there, and then he went on to marry the youngest girl. When accompanying them, the mistress of the house gives the prince permission to go through all the surrounding places, wherever he wants. However, they showed him a specific valley, warned him not to go there because it wouldn't be good for him. and said it was called the Valley of Sorrow. He spent a very long time in this paradise land. He remained untouched by the passage of time, a vibrant energy against the backdrop of fleeting moments. His youthful body and energy persisted, defying the natural progression of age. He strolled through the woods, carefree. He loved his time in that beautiful palace, lived happily with his wife and sisters-in-law, and relished the beauty of flowers and fresh air, just a happy man. He'd go hunting a lot, but one time he shot at a rabbit, missed with one arrow, then two. So he got mad because he never missed a target before, chased the rabbit down, and finally got it with a third arrow. Poor Fairchild didn't even realize he had run into the Valley of Sorrow while chasing that rabbit. Taking the rabbit, he returned to the palace. Unexpectedly on his way, he missed his father and mother. His feelings changed instantly. A wave of emotion brought an unexpected longing for his family and home palace. He dared not tell this to the women, but they knew him by the sorrow and restlessness they saw in his eyes. "You have passed into the Valley of Sorrow," the three women said. "This is so unfortunate. I passed, my dear wife, without intending to do this foolish. And now I'm melting from my feet with the longing for my parents, but I can't bear to leave you either. I have been with you for such a long time, but I can either live with this sorrow. I must go to see my parents one more time, and then I'll come back, never to go again. Don't leave us, my love. Your parents have not lived for hundreds of years, and even you, going away, we fear that you will not return. Stay with us, for thought tells us that you will perish." Despite the prayers offered by the three women and even the horse, his yearning for his parents remained unappeased, leaving him utterly drained. Finally, the horse said to him, "If you don't want to listen to me, master, whatever happens to you, know that only you are to blame. I'll give you a word, and if you accept it, I'll take you back." "I promise," said Fairchild with all the satisfaction. "Just say it. When we get to your father's palace, I'll drop you off and then come back. I cannot stay, not even for a very short while, but if you wish, you can stay." "So be it," Fairchild said. They prepared to leave, hugged the women, and, after saying goodbye to each other, set off, leaving them sobbing and tearful. They arrived at the place where Scorpio's land was. There they found cities and villages. The forest had changed to plains. They asked around about Scorpio and her home, but people answered that their grandfathers had heard such trifles from their great-grandfathers. "How can it be like this?" said the prince. "I passed by here the day before yesterday." They laughed at him, as if he were joking, and he, enraged, just kept going, not even noticing his beard and hair grew and had turned white. Arriving at Gianoa's land, he asked the same questions as at Scorpia's land, and received similar answers. He could not help himself. How is this possible? How in a few days have the places changed like this? Angry again, he left, his white beard reaching his waist. His legs shook slightly as he reached his father's kingdom. He found many people, cities, villages, and the old place changed. He no longer recognized this land. At last, he arrived at the palace of his birth. As he got down, the horse kissed his hand and said, "Stay healthy, my dear prince, because I'm going back where I left. If you want to come too, get on and we'll help each other. Go back in good health. I hope to return soon." The horse took off like a swift arrow. Seeing the broken-down palace, overgrown with weeds, the prince sighed and, with tears in his eyes, tried to remember how bright everything once was and how he had spent his childhood in that kingdom. He spent approximately 2/3 of his time meticulously examining every storage area and secluded space reminiscent of his past, including the stable where he discovered the horse. Then he went down into the cellar, the hatch of which had been blocked by fallen rubble. Searching here and there, now with a white beard down to his knees, lifting his heavy eyelids with his fingers and barely able to walk, he found nothing but a decrepit chest box. He cracked open the old wooden, revealing only its emptiness. There was nothing inside but a layer of dust. But a weak voice, more like a gentle whisper, said to him, Welcome, my prince. I was waiting for you. Since you were so late, I also almost fell apart. It was dead. It spoke of a long-awaited arrival, and the white-bearded prince, aged and frail, succumbed to the embrace of his mortality. His earthly body, once vibrant with life, crumbled into dust. The end.